Good afternoon, dear students. In today's class, I would like to continue with the discussion on my topic, the humiliation of a brown child in a European school. We started our discussion in the previous class. We mentioned some of the incidents from the life of Kamala Das. As I mentioned already, this chapter is an excerpt taken from Kamala Das' autobiography, My Story. So in this class, I'll discuss her experience as a child in a European school. In the last class, we looked at the way the cook treated them as savage because of the food habits that they had. So in that class, we mentioned the cultural differences and the cultural superiority that some people have, especially the way people treat their culture as superior and the way they look down upon other cultures. So we mentioned that in detail in last class. Now let us come to our topic. In today's class, as I mentioned, she explains her experiences that she underwent in the school. Now, she was admitted, as I said, in a European school. It was the cook who took them, that is, her brother and Kamala Das, to the school. Her father was very busy at that time. He was employed at an automobile shop and, as he says, very busy selling Rolls-Royce, Bentleys and other luxurious cars to the Indian princes and their relatives. And her mother, Balamani Amma, she was a very famous poet in Malayalam. She spent her time writing poems. And they did not have a full-time maid at that time. So it was the cook who took them to the school. And he was not an affectionate man, that is what she says. Anyway, then she explains some of the incidents that clearly shows the racial prejudices in a European setting. She speaks about her brother. He was plump and dark. He was the cleverest in the class. That is how she describes him. However, the white boys often tortured him. Once they put a pointed pencil into his nose and his shirt was filled with blood. Seeing this, Kamala Das became angry and she scratched the face of the boy who did that. When the blood came out, one of the boys, the bully, that is, she calls him William, he says, "Oh, Blackie, your blood is red." So look at the racial attitude of the students in a school. And although all these experiences that they faced, they did not share it with their parents. She mentions that there are 6 brown children in that school, including Louis, an Anglo-Indian boy. He always supported the white, though they hated him. So this is the attitude that the children they had towards the brown child, their own friends. Then about the school, the teachers, their attitude as well, she explains. We find that in that school, they had distinguished guests who had some connection with the royal court, visited the school. It was a wonder for Kamala Das how those authorities managed to get these distinguished guests to the school, because that was not a big school, but often some of the eminent personalities from those who are associated with the royal court or some connection with the Britain, they visited the place. Sometimes governor's wife or some admirals and some people, some important personalities. So whenever they visited the schools, it was Shirley Temple who presented bouquet to the guests. Shirley Temple was a child studying at that school. At that time, an actress, Shirley Temple, was very famous among the students. And in that school, there was another girl, as I mentioned, in the same name, Shirley Temple. And, the teachers always asked her to present the bouquet to the guests whenever they visited the school. Okay, it was some consideration that they gave to the child. And also one day when a guest arrived at the school, she recited, this Shirley Temple, the student, recited a poem that was written by Kamala Das. And when the guest asked her who wrote the poem, the teachers said that it was written by Shirley Temple. She was a combination of beauty and brilliance. That's how they presented. And also another incident that she says, whenever these guests arrived at the school, these brown children were hidden. They were not allowed to come in front. As I said, there were 6 children and they were not allowed to appear before the guests. So this is a clear kind of injustice and discrimination that they faced. So here Kamala Das is trying to explain the way in a European setting how the brown children, the natives, experienced. So when we discuss this point, we know that even today there are campaigns going on. We are familiar with what happened in America recently. The Black Lives Matter, the campaign that is going on as a result of the brutal killing that happened in America. So the racial prejudices, the racial discrimination is a serious topic that we find even today. But unfortunately, those who are the educated people, those who should try to create awareness among the little ones, they themselves support these things. That's what we find in this excerpt. So it's a reminder for the teachers and students. How can we create an egalitarian society? It is possible only when we educate our children that there is no superiority over color, caste, creed, language. This is a knowledge and understanding that we all should have. We have to teach very deliberately. We have to make our children aware that nobody is superior because of their color, because of their birth. In India, when it comes to India, we find that caste discrimination is a very serious concern. So I'm trying to tell you, how these things, those differences that we have, people attempt to divide human beings in terms of all these differences. But at the end of the day, when I complete my discussion, when I finish my discussion on this topic, I would like to remind my students that there is no scope for such differences. That means we cannot eliminate differences. But what is expected from the students, learned people, those who claim that they are educated, they should learn to respect the differences. That is the idea that I want to convey to my students. So these experiences that Kamala Das attempts to share with us throws light on the racial prejudices that she experienced, and we have to make serious efforts to ward off, to put an end to all such forms of discrimination, and to try and work for an egalitarian society for the entire world. Thank you very much. So we'll have some question answers and some topics to discuss. You can see the question answers in the description box. Thank you.